Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, The Black Accountant. It's your boy Mo, and if you haven't already done so, you know the drill. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments of any kind of content you want to see going forward. But most importantly, don't forget to turn on notification bells so you get notified when I drop new videos. Man, my lips are crusty. Yeah. Oh man. So, if you noticed, I don't sound as nasally. I'm feeling a lot better. Turns out it wasn't actually COVID. I just had a cold slash flu. I got over it in maybe like 3 or 4 days. I guess it was just a temperature difference from LA to Chicago, just because of what I was wearing, I guess. But yeah, feeling a lot better. But today's topic, we're talking about manipulation. You know, everyone's favorite topic. And I think a lot of times when we start talking about improvement of self, personal development, etc., any topic along those lines, this is always a big and heavy topic within that sphere, that sector, that a lot of people end up talking about, looking at, and looking into, whether that's to get better at it or whether that's to heal from it. And you know, if you're in that section of trying to get better at it, shame on you. But also, you know, you'll reap what you sow at some point. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this just because coming from any kind of dysfunctional family, as you get older and older and older, you hit certain points where you start to understand more and more and more about yourself and more about what happened to you, more about what you did and who you were and who you want to be and how to get there. And in doing so, you start to kind of come across some of the patterns that you've picked up or learned from childhood or that you currently use, or and then just determining, like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing, and trying to figure out, am I using people or am I being used? And that's a question that sort of circulates a lot. So anyway, today I wanted to talk about 3 typical reasons that people do manipulate, if they do manipulate at all. And they are to get ahead in life, to avoid confrontation, or to skew perception. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about each of these 3 things. So I'm going to start off with getting ahead, because that's obviously probably one of the better known ones, and for no reasons. If I want to get ahead in life and I want to use a skill set that I have, and a skill set being emotionality, I can use that to my advantage. And it's interesting because this falls more in line with covert narcissists than it does with overt narcissists when it comes to manipulation, because within covert narcissism, a lot of what's done is utilizing kindness and utilizing emotionality as power instead of the typical regarding of it as weakness. Whereas overt narcissists tend to play up a pride aspect a lot and try to discard or show as little emotion as possible to manipulate. So it's an interesting dynamic, but I think covert narcissists tend to take longer to identify, and the damage that they leave over time is actually a lot stronger than that of an overt narcissist, because an overt narcissist, you can sort of identify and realize what it is and leave the situation. With a covert narcissist, it really just fucks with your head to the point where it's just like, hey, what about this was real? What's fake? What am I overthinking and what am I not overthinking? But within that reason, it's to get ahead. For some narcissists, and I'm mostly talking from anecdotal evidence rather than anything statistical or anything factual. Well, I don't want to say factual, because anecdotal evidence, in my opinion, is also factual to a degree. Wait, I just lost my train of thought. My bad. But to get ahead, getting ahead is more so about how do I utilize my ability to read people, my ability to read patterns, and my ability to perceive your weakness as something that I can use to get ahead. And unfortunately, that's a question that actually does pop up in my head, because over time, and I think typically when you spend a lot of time alone or you people watch a lot, you start to pick up on patterns in people. You know, you can sort of identify from the way a person talks, carries themselves, dresses, and walks, like their confidence levels, who they are to a degree, and then what they're about. So let's say if I wanted to manipulate somebody that I know is smart or likes to show off that they're smart, I would approach them in a showboaty type manner. So let me give you a very good example of this, and I think this is a tactic people use in sales. Let's say I'm browsing through LinkedIn, and then I see somebody whose page is just full of accomplishments, full of academia, full of a bunch of different things. It screams, look at me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that person really wants attention and wants um, this validation of, hey, I'm doing a lot and I'm feeling superior. I need this type of validation. If I wanted to manipulate that person, the first thing I would approach them with, if I was planning to scam them or something along those lines, is, hey, I have this opportunity and it has this specific executive title or this big fancy sounding title. It will look good if you post this. And typically a lot of people fall for that type of thing. You know, that's why MLMs are so successful. They typically target people who do want to showcase certain levels of accomplishment without really putting in the work, because those people are so much so focused on seeming successful and seeming big and seeming very important rather than actually being those things. So it's easier to use those types of people. And obviously this comes to a question of, what are your levels of morality? Do you want to do this? Is this something that's right? Is this something that's wrong? But that's not what I'm debating here. I'm only trying to help identify what these things are. I think it's really within a lot of people, and if not most people's capacity, to do some level of manipulation from just the way that you observe people and start knowing people in your relationships. But it also comes to you, like, what can you live with, and how much do you care about other people when it comes to actually manipulating. So that's number one. Number two is avoiding confrontation. And this one, I wanted to kind of draw back to a previous video I did where I was talking about, when does kindness become, when is kindness considered cowardice? And that one is probably like very prevalent. I think this is the one that most people use, where it's trying to shelter yourself from having to confront anybody, where you don't necessarily give any valid opinion, or I don't want to say valid, any real opinion on anything, where you kind of play a neutral part on a consistent basis, simply to keep the peace. And I'm really not a fan of that, because that's actually a very cultural thing that I've noticed within a lot of minorities. It's like the whole aspect or the whole concept of keeping the peace, even when things need to be stirred. You know, sometimes you do need to stir the pot because it's either dropping too much to the bottom and it might get burnt, or it's floating up to the top and you kind of want to mix that in, sort of like boba. But that's probably one of the other main key reasons that people do manipulate, is to make sure that you don't have to physically fight for a belief or fight for somebody, or actually confront a situation. So you start making up scenarios of who that person is, what they are. And I think the most toxic aspect of this part is starting to create these narratives for other people who have either never met that person, or who have very loose knowledge of that person's character. And I think that's probably one of the worst things you could really do, is to assassinate somebody's character, and tainting them for somebody without them having experienced it, and making them out to be somebody that they actually aren't. So that's number two. Number three, and this one is probably the easiest part to identify, are skewing perception. And it kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with avoiding confrontation, but it's more on this one about not wanting to seem wrong and not wanting to expose any weakness in yourself, anything about yourself to seem perfect or to seem always likable and always agreeable. And what does that look like in real life? You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like having different opinions on the same topic, depending on the group that you're with. Like, let's say I'm with group A and we're talking about, I don't know, maybe I'm just in the mood for boba. They're talking about boba. Oh, I hate boba or whatever. And then you're with that argument. Oh, wait, boba's like crap. Well, I don't like to eat that, etc., etc. Now you're with group B. They love the boba. They're all about it. And now you're also all about it. You know, you don't actually hold a specific opinion. You just go with whatever the group opinion is to always seem likable. What does the media tell me I need to be? What does my group, what does my family tell me I need to like? And therefore, that's all I'm doing. So that in every situation, I kind of consistently have this narrative so that I look a certain way. And I think that's probably the most pathetic one, because you're trying not to show any aspect of yourself, and it's tiring to have to play a character on a very, very consistent basis, because at some point, even if you don't drop your guard, you're going to be exhausted, and you're going to exhaust the people around you. And then you're probably going to start withdrawing from people around you as well, and just sort of becoming reclusive. And that's more detrimental to you than is for anybody else. And I think a signature move here is catching people only in one-on-ones, where you have specific narratives with each person that you talk to. Like, I want to talk to this person, I'm gonna catch them alone. I'm not going to talk to them while they're in the group, because I want to make sure they see me in this type of light. I'm going to go talk to this other person in a specific type of way, because I want to make sure the way that they see me is the way I want them to see me, rather than just allowing them to picture you and just being the same person in every environment. So those are the three main ways that I think people typically manipulate, or reasons that people typically manipulate. I would love to deep dive a little bit more into this topic. I think it kind of goes way more than this, just because I sort of only covered covert narcissism in a way and covert manipulation, and only just the reasons why, because there's actually a lot of tactics to it as well. And the reason I think I can identify a lot of these things is because I've been an observer for a very long time, where for me, I like to think about what I say before I say it, and then deal with people for a while before I actually come to a conclusion about how I actually feel about them or think about them, if that makes any sense. I almost never just go solely based off of my first impression of a person. That and the fact that there are always narcissistic or manipulative tendencies that people around you have. So I've seen it from family, I've seen it from friends, I've seen it from people around me. And not to say that I don't have that as well. I think the reason I'm able to talk about it and do talk about it is because I can identify those things in myself as well, and wanting to change from that, or not wanting to be held accountable to a degree. So giving that information out there, and also helping people identify these things so that they can avoid these pitfalls and avoid dealing with these types of people. I guess the one kind of caveat here is that if somebody's a manipulator and they kind of like hear these types of experiences and see the way that people do these types of stuff or talk about it, might start getting smarter or better at it. And I think that's sort of a minor, not a minor issue, it's just a smaller issue when it comes to talking about the topic, because I believe the benefits are a lot higher than the cons, where it's better to help people identify these things than to just worry about the fact that maybe like a few people might use this out of context and use it in like a much more negative manner. But let me know if you want to see more on this topic, because I think probably one of my future videos is going to be some tactics that manipulators use. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.